listening to the Bleach Bros Podcast, hosted by B-Word and Jake.
Welcome into the Bleach Bros Podcast. This is B-Word, and I'm joined here by Jake the Hater. How you doing, buddy?
I like how you say, like, I'm joined. Why do you try to be so professional? You make me look like a fucking rube.
I mean, you kind of are.
Yeah. What is a rube?
And
that's a word.
I don't know what a rube is.
I don't like using words I don't know.
I've actually learned a lot tonight. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I've ever told you about her, but I have a cousin named Donna who lives in Utah, right?
Okay.
And God bless her. She lives in Utah and she's Mormon, but she also is aware of how Jack Mormon she is. So are you aware of what Jack Mormon is, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, so for the audience members who don't know what Jack Mormon is, like, there are some things within the Mormon religion, like you can't have caffeine, you can't drink alcohol, like there's certain things that they live their life to. But a Jack Mormon is somebody who is a Mormon, but they don't really like follow Mormon stuff. So she and I were talking tonight actually about the podcast, no less. And she hit me with a couple Mormon jokes. You ready for these?
Yeah. So
did you know that Mormons actually called each other bro before it was cool? I can't say that with a straight face.
Dear God. And not their God. My God.
It's terrible, dude. I couldn't say that one with a straight face. I'm sorry.
This is why I don't trust anybody that's more man than me.
Oh, right? So, yo mama so Mormon.
Oh, my God. This is getting worse.
That she thinks having a coffee table's against the word of wisdom.
You know, like when, oh, God, how am I trying to say this? This is like the most wholesome bullshit I'm listening to right now.
It is, right? Oh, it's
My
so funny.
God.
So funny. Last one here.
Oh, God.
What do you call a Mormon who likes to smoke, drink, swear, and be promiscuous?
Jack.
An oxymormon.
Oh, my God. See, I was actually going to bring up something speaking to you. Okay, you got me with that one. But I love how, like, you're cracking up so hard over this, and I'm sort of sitting there. It's like you know when you tell your friend, "Hey, I got a funny story," and then you're just sitting staring at them waiting for the funny part. How come all religions have Orthodox except Mormons? Like, we call them Jacks. Like, you know, like there's Orthodox Jews and then Jews. And, like, we're saying, like, yeah, they're Mormons, but they don't follow everything that Mormons do. Well, like, Jewish people that eat shrimp are just non-Orthodox. So is that? I mean, I don't know. That's a pondering moment, B-Word.
I don't know, Jack. I don't know. That's all I know.
Shit. Like
well, you know that happens, my man. But speaking of being jacked full of shit, you went on this little camping getaway, right? And let me preface this because speaking of being more man, you went glamping.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yeah, I actually it was because I wanted to get away with my wife. So there's twofold on this, B-Word. One, me and my wife, this was our first vacation without the kids in 4 years.
Okay.
So we needed that. Two, I don't know, remember when I went on that camping trip we talked about before on the show? We showed pictures of last year where we went 3 weeks. Yeah. My wife was 8 months pregnant during that.
Oh.
During
yeah,
summer.
She didn't have any fun.
She deserved this. So tell
me about the amenities, because you posted up some photos.
Beautiful.
And it didn't quite look like an RV. Like some people think that RV camping is glamping. Mm-hmm. This was a tiny home, am I right?
These are tiny homes. So it's a company called Getaway, not a sponsor, but Getaway Portland. They have them all over the country, I guess. And it's a genius idea. The guy built all these beautiful little tiny homes where you sleep is a queen-size bed, but it's just up against a giant window, and they park you in the trees. So, but you have an induction burner, 2-stove burner. They give you pots, pans, utensils, all that. Bathroom, shower, whole septic hookups and hot water hookups, AC, heat, a fire pit, some Adirondack chairs, those really nice big ones, a private area, and then they give you a cell phone lockbox because they purposefully go in an area with no cell service. So we were actually up in the Mount Adams area. So And as we've said, I'm a planner, so I actually pulled out maps and had all this whole trip planned out, and it was actually a good thing I did, because when we got up there, there's literally no self-service at all. So it couldn't be one of those trips where you go and go, oh, what can we do tomorrow? So we brought some books. We were there Wednesday night, Thursday, and then left Friday. It felt like we were there about a whole week. We played games. Yeah. My wife laughed. I brought prime grade ribeyes in New York's.
Oh, okay.
I made like chorizo scramble in the morning. I made fresh coffee, and she goes, only you would pack, enough food. And I packed it perfectly and good, where I made still gourmet meals. I mean, I think for our final dinner, we did those prime grade steaks. I did some fingerling potatoes roasted with garlic, and then a mixed green with pecans, blueberries, or pecans, blue cheese, and a raspberry vinaigrette salad.
Wow.
So, we still ate pretty high end. I mean, yeah, we were glamping, but it was nice. It was good. There was trails. We went huckleberry picking. We went and tried to chase down some bears, as my wife was afraid.
Bears?
Not your kind of bear. But the other thing was they had quiet hours, so you would actually get fined if you left food outside, or you couldn't play music outside. They gave you a radio, though. You could have it in there. And we just read books and played games and just, did husband and wife stuff. It was a great fucking time. So, yeah, it was glamping. But it was a much-needed getaway out in the middle of nowhere. Took my Jeep, went four-wheeling around, found just some random spots, just drove for days. But as parents do, the whole time, we're going, oh, it'd be great to bring our kids here. Oh, it'd be great to do this with the kids. So even though we got away,
right.
we like to travel with our kids, and we're not really that, and it's nothing against the people that do that, but, there's some couples out there, families or whatever, that, they do those vacations by themselves and always leave the kids behind.
Right.
But, I think me and the wife needed it. It was funny, we get there, though, and she goes, you know what this, about a day in, she goes, you know what this would be great for? Couples that fight.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at her, and I'm thinking, one, we're not fighting. She goes, no, not us, stupid. Because my wife knows my face. So she looks at my face and realizes that I'm stupid, and I'm looking at her, and she's like, not you. But I'm thinking, is it really, though? Is it really the best place for two couples that are fighting?
Well,
because you have nothing to do.
Do they give you a shovel?
Well, I don't. That's the thing. You're really remote, so there's for that. But
right. I
think we lucked out, too, though, because we actually drove the whole camp. And nothing against anybody else that's staying there if they listen to this, but some people got some pretty shitty spots. Like, in the sense of, one was backed up against a fence, and I understand they got to fit so many in there. They didn't overdo it. But it was beautiful. I'd highly recommend the company. It was very affordable. They're all over. The guy who invented it, he has a book in there, too, that's all about, getaways and how to pack things and stuff. And but the other thing was, my wife read a nonfiction book, or a fiction book, right?
Okay.
And of course, my book I bring is based on best butchering practices, because I like to read very boring real shit. But
yeah,
have you ever glamped, B-word, or are you just a strict camp guy?
No, I'm more of a man than you, my man. There's a few things that you can do better than me. Probably cook a steak, maybe even brew some beer. But when it comes to camping, man, I'm a tent camper extraordinaire. But let me bring this up here too, because not everything is kosher. Going back to the Orthodox Jew, when you're tent camping, right? Especially if there are bears out there, and I'm not talking about the Robert the Bears. I'm talking about the actual bears that'll eat you, right? Especially so I live in northern Nevada, and right now, all of Northern California is on fire. Right. So if you're going camping, there's no, you can't have a fire pit. You can't.
Yeah, we couldn't have one here either. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think that kind of makes camping, to be honest with you, is when everybody can kind of sit around the fire and do s'mores and have beverages and do whatever. I mean, that's where the socialization, particularly at night, happens with camping, right?
Well, that was my biggest regret. I think that was the only thing they told me the day before, or a couple days before. They reached out to me and said, "Hey, your trip's booked," and they said there is a fire ban. And literally, me and my wife just looked at each other and said, "It's still gonna be a good time." But because that's what you think of. You think of the fire pit, sitting outside, putting the fire on, looking at the stars, having the conversations. Right. And it did suck about that, but I mean, everything else was good.
Yeah, no, and really, I mean, the fire pit's nice, but there's quite a bit of things that are overrated when it comes to camping, right? And so, the fire pit's good. I have a tent. And so I set that up. I have a cot. I set that up. Like I have all the things to do it with. And I have friends who have RVs, and every once in a while I'll go camping with them. This weekend I'm actually going to take off and go to a different part of California to go camping with another buddy of mine who's going to go tent camping. So, camping is great overall, but there are parts of it that are a little overrated. Like if you're not preparing for food, like I know that if you and I were to go camping, you're taking care of the food.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just staying out of your way.
Yep.
But I'm making sure that we have everything else taken care of. Do we have like all the drinks? Do we have this? Do we have that? And to the little things, like do we have matches or do we have a lighter? Like you just need to make sure that you have all of that sort of stuff. But it just makes me think, man. There's a lot of things in the summertime, particularly, that I think are a little overrated. And when it comes to camping, like, do you always have to camp by the lake, or do you like dry camping in the woods?
I like dry camping in the woods, but here's the thing. I do agree, and I think our list is going to be pretty long and good about this overrated bullshit. But see, up here, there's so much water. It's almost like, like Minnesota, if you talk to somebody from there, everywhere you camp is probably next to a lake. So it's sort of, but I like dry camping because also I grew up in Nevada. And, there's one lake, and there's not a lot of rivers. So to me, it's not. Up here, though, I feel like when I talk to friends, they almost always go where there's a lake or water, and because we're surrounded by so much of it.
Right. And I think on a hot day, being by a lake is a great thing. But I also think that you don't always have to be by a body of water, whether that's a lake or a river. But separately, like I like swimming in a lake. I am not the kayaking person. It's not because I'm fluffy. I just don't want to kayak. Like, it's not my thing.
See, we're the opposite. I do not like swimming. I like kayaking.
Yeah.
But see, a part of swimming that's overrated, skinny dipping. Skinny dipping is
not
overrated.
A fan of skinny dipping.
There's 3 reasons.
Especially if you're with, the opposite sex. Like, it's nice initially, but it's overrated.
Well, let's be honest here. There's a few reasons it's overrated. One, usually water's cold. And you don't need to show your George Costanza to your lady friend. Two,
it's grower, not a shower.
Women's bodies, and this is a science lesson, everything's internal. So also when you're skinny dipping as dudes, we just want to bang. Like, let's just be honest with ourselves. As soon as we see something naked, we turn into that horny dog with its favorite stuffed animal, just start air humping. Like, we're just ready to go.
Did you say see something?
No, like a little
naked?
stuff. If me and you saw like our the opposite sex, who you went on a camping trip, let's say your wife.
Okay, so that's
naked.
someone.
Yeah, someone. Sorry.
Okay, I thought we were getting into ducks. No. I didn't know where we were going with that.
Yeah. Damn it. Caught me there. No, but if you do, you want to bang, right? And the last thing your wife, woman, whoever you're with, or opposite sex, whoever you're going to bang, wants to do is have
or
you
same sex, depending on what you're into.
Have you ram something in a hole in a gross lake water? Because lake water is not the cleanest water, right?
No.
Brings to another point.
So
sex in water is overrated. It sucks.
Yes. Period. Well, what do the kids say now? Is it period T at the end? How do you say that?
I don't know. I'm
period
on fleek.
to. I don't know, man. I'm not a TikToker, so I can't really tell you. But I do know that if you put a T after a period, that's like an escalated final period or something. I don't know what it means.
That's retarded.
It's like the big bad in a video game. Yeah. Like you have period and then you have period with a T after.
All right, let me ask you this: camping. What's the most overrated drink? And you can go with nowadays.
Oh, the most overrated drink is light beer.
I'm going to say White Claw. And I'm not just saying because of the brand. You could go with any seltzer.
No. I don't drink seltzers.
Neither do I.
So let's preface there. I don't drink White Claw because I have testicles. And so I really like light beer like Natty Ice, PBR, Bud Light,
Busch.
Coors Light, Miller Light. Yeah, Busch, anything light. Like I'm a beer connoisseur and I spoiled myself in a sense where I really like good beer. So I like craft beer, and I'm not talking like everything has to be an IPA. Like there's really good craft pilsners, or there's really good craft lagers. So I think cheap beer is overrated at a campsite.
Cheap beer is not bad because there's an argument to my own point. Cheap beer is not bad because you can afford to give a lot of people a few brews, because you're also probably going to be feeding them a hot dog, a wiener on a stick that's been dirty, and grill it and get that grit in your mouth. So honestly, Camping food is overrated most of the time. So who cares if you're
Right.
feeding them shitty beer? However, my stepdad used to always say, or my former stepdad, Jake, just you buy light beer because you really don't care who you're drinking with. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to go camping with people I don't like. I mean, maybe when you're like, when you're 18 or whatever, and you went out with a bunch of friends, and sometimes they invite Carl or whatever asshole, Daryl, fuck Daryl, if they bring him and he's there, you're like, oh, I got to share. Yeah, you'll give him the light beer. But see, seltzers are the most overrated to me because remember Zima?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing about this generation they don't realize. How many people do you know walk around and brag about when they used to drink Zimas? And how many of those men exist still?
They don't.
Exactly my point. So all these little dudes drinking White Claws or whatever the fuck they're drinking, these Bud Light seltzers, everybody's doing it. Just shut up. Your stupid drink doesn't...
Yeah, everybody has a seltzer. So you mentioned Bud Light seltzer. Like, I don't necessarily consider this a cheap beer because it's not really cheap, but it is rather common. So Blue Moon has a seltzer. Now, I will tell you that the Blue Moon seltzer is okay. Like, it's okay.
It
tastes
taste
like
fine.
a Blue Moon. You pour a little orange juice in it if you have to, and it's fine. But the big thing about seltzers is to me, all seltzers taste like TV static. I don't like the carbonation like it is.
See,
and it's so to me, all seltzers are overrated.
See, the thing is, you know what the original seltzer drink was, B-word? You brought seltzer and you poured vodka or tequila or whiskey or anything in it.
Yeah.
You don't buy a crappy little can that looks like a Red Bull and feel like a bro. Like
right. Well, what do you think a gin and tonic is?
Right.
I mean, it's tonic water is the seltzer water.
Yeah, it's delicious. Right? So that's a delicious drink.
No, so most overrated again. I was in Italy in the summertime. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they asked if I want mineral water or what was it? Mineral water or spring water?
Spring water.
No, it wasn't.
Or tap water.
I don't think it was spring
Table
water. There were sparkling water.
Oh,
sparkling water. So we get off the plane. We have jet lag like crazy, right? And so we get to the hotel, and the hotel's serving water, and they said, "Do you want mineral water or do you want sparkling water?" In the U.S., sparkling water can mean two different things. It can mean you actually get like the tonic water, and it might be flavored, it might not be flavored, or the water is just sparkling from a spring, right? In Europe, that's not the same thing. So when I said sparkling water, I got the tonic water. And here's the thing, the tonic water, the sparkling water, I don't get hydrated from that at all. Like if you're dehydrated, that's like the worst thing to drink because there's no point to it. It's you're drinking TV static, and I don't like that. But as you talk about, the White Claws and those types of things, is there an alcohol that you think is most overrated? Like when you're camping, assuming you're camping with a group of people and they pull out a bottle of something, is there something that you're like, oh yeah, that's the redneck drinker. Oh yeah, that's this or that's that. Is there an alcohol that you just think is overrated?
The three for me, and I do have three, is number one is Fireball. One, I hate it. Two, that was the big thing coming out. Two is Jägermeister.
Oh yeah.
And I like Jägermeister. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of those when you bust out Jägermeister at a place like that, everybody's drinking that full bottle and just getting wrecked.
Oh, and they're just gonna get sloshed.
Right. Third is SoCo. SoCo is one of the worst whiskeys on the planet, or if that's what you even call it, is one of the worst drinks ever.
Right.
I hate it.
It's too sweet. I agree with you on the first two.
Okay.
I think Fireball. Don't get me wrong. I'll have a drink of Fireball. Like if I'm in a crowd, I get peer pressured enough to be able to have a drink of it. Right. I really try to stay away from Jaeger because you and I were drinking tequila one night, and I was drinking tequila one night, and you switched to Jaeger bombs, and I don't know why, and I got kicked out of a bar in a wheelchair. But we'll go into that in a different time. So I really can't touch tequila anymore. I can still have Jaeger, but now I'm all pissed that I really can't touch tequila because I love tequila. But the other one for me is flavored vodkas.
See, but you like flavored vodkas, so that surprises me that you're saying it's overrated. Now, are you saying certain flavors, or are you just saying just in general when people bust it out, you're like, really? We're busting that out again?
For shots. So like I'm talking shots. I don't mind a flavored vodka if it's like a mixed drink, right? Okay. But if you're going to do shots of something, I think... So first and foremost, I'm not 19 anymore. Well, for the purpose of this, for legal purposes, I'm not 21 anymore.
Well, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick before you finish that thought. Shots are overrated, but continue and we'll debate that next.
Yeah, no, shots are overrated. Okay. So if somebody's bringing out a bottle of liquor at a camping site or a glamping site, if that's what you choose to do, there's shots. Like, nobody's mixing drinks, let's be honest. So, I would prefer a good vodka, like a grapefruit vodka or cranberry vodka, something like that, as a drink. I don't really like the shots because all you're doing is drinking to get hammered. Now, if you're bringing out a good bottle of scotch or a good bottle of whiskey, which typically doesn't happen in a camping trip, I mean, let's be honest, then, you're there to sip, you're there to enjoy, you're there to do that. But you're going to get shithoused hammered if you're bringing out the flavored stuff like a Jägermeister or a Fireball or a flavored vodka.
Yeah. Well, now, to get chefy on you for a second, though, there's a difference between seltzer, soda water, and tonic, right?
Yes.
You know the difference, what the differences are? Or do you want me to?
No.
Okay. So, soda water is just carbonated water, right? Seltzer is carbonated water with added minerals, so mineral water. And then tonic is that, but they add sugar, and I think it's quinine with it. I also went to a bar up here once. I have a little tonic story, if I can, real quick interrupt. So there's a bar up here called Teardrop, and it used to be one of my favorite bars. It's shaped like a teardrop. It's a very hipster, they dress in the old school, like mustaches, but they were very well-known mixologists here. And it was one of my favorites because they would come out with a menu every month or every season, and like they had a drink once called A New Hope. So the bartenders would make drinks, name them, and then describe them. And they had 3 pages for their menu. It was house-made drinks that were on special, classic drinks like a Black Swan or a Hell or High Water or anything like that, and then stolen drinks. And then they would remake drinks from famous bars all over the country, and then give them credit. Well, I invented 2 drinks in there with a few friends. One, there was a guy who was a bartender named Tyler Stevens, and we made the Steven Tyler. But 2, I went in there because I actually had to review them for a newspaper up here. And I just ripped them apart, and they hated me. And the reason was I went in, and as a man, you know this, when you go in and order a drink, if I was to say to you, B-word, I want a gin and tonic. And I say, I want Hendrick's gin, or, if I name out everything I want. So at the time I wanted Tanqueray 10 and tonic, right, with a lime twist. And she goes, oh, do you want to try our house-made tonic? And I was like, no, I do not. And she's like, but you should try our house-made tonic. I was like, I don't want to try your house-made tonic. And she's like, but you should. We make it with our own Bardock root. And she would not shut up about this. So she brings it to the table. Well, a gin and tonic, it's a clear drink, right? Mm-hmm. Not if you don't filter the Bardock root. So it's an orange drink in front of me. And so I'm looking at it, and I taste it, and it's god awful. It tasted like I walked through the Macy's perfume aisle with my mouth open while they were spraying. So I'd go to the girl and I say, hey, I don't enjoy this. And she's like, oh, okay. So then, I get a wicked gimlet and we order food. Now, the other problem is the food. They were serving like buffalo chili and all this. And you're in a high-end bar known for mixology. When you're in a place like that, you're not ordering buffalo chili and hot wings. I'm sorry. You're ordering small plates, charcuterie, stuff like that. So I'm just tallying notes. Well, at the end, I go to pay my bill, and she charges me for that first shitty drink. And I go to argue with her. And she's like, no, sir, you had that drink. I was like, it was terrible, and I took your suggestion. She goes, well, everybody should try our house-made tonic because we work really hard on it. And I just really wanted to be like, a lot of people work on things that are shit, and I don't want to pay for it. And so they still billed me. So I wrote this article, and the owner finally called me, and that's another story we'll get into another day. But, I went back, and they revamped, and it went great. But, I'll never forget that. And that's where I actually learned the differences of tonics and stuff. Because, you go out and some people are like, oh, I'll have a vodka soda water or a vodka tonic. And a lot of people just don't know the difference. They just name out what they know. They just yell out the name.
Right.
But overrated, what else? All right, let's get into a food part of it. What's the most overrated food camping?
Oh, hot dogs.
Hot dogs on a stick, or is it just grilled?
Either way, like, don't get me wrong. I mean, we had an episode recently where we were talking about hot dogs and our appreciation for hot dogs, but I think hot dogs are just like, I mean, everybody does hot dogs on a camping trip, right?
They're cheap
or
and easy,
hamburgers for that matter, and so actually the people that I go camping with, for the most part, I mean, we do. So if we're staying for 4 days, and as an example, I mean, we have the menus set up before we even go, so everybody knows what to buy.
Okay.
So you're either doing, like, as an example, the last time we went camping, we had ribs, We had hamburgers one night because that was easy enough. We had chili. We had barbecue chicken. I mean, there, just a whole bunch of different things that you can make. And then, of course, everybody, that's buying stuff either brings a side dish or makes a dish or, whatever. So I think it's so much better to do that than just say, okay, we're having hamburgers and hot dogs with the cheap hamburger and hot dog buns. And, you get the slice of government cheese on there, the Kraft singles, and then you get the, hamburger or the ketchup and mustard, and there you go.
Okay.
I think that's overrated.
See, mine is
what
s'mores.
about for you?
And people are going to think I'm a communist for saying that. S'mores.
Yeah,
S'mores.
people are, because I already think that you're a communist.
Well, here's why. How do you, and I have a reason behind this. How do you make your s'more?
Well, just like they did on the Sandlot.
Do you like your
So
chocolate
you take
cold?
the graham.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
I do like my
Okay, so
chocolate
no,
cold.
you're correct then. See, I will eat s'mores with you, B-word, because
Okay.
you eat it properly.
Right.
Now,
well, how else do people eat it?
Oh, dude, I have friends that like the chocolate melted. I have
Why?
friends that are like those assholes at Oreo that make shitty cookies with 90 billion flavors, where they bring like the chocolate graham crackers or the cinnamon graham crackers, or
No.
But the final one is, and my wife's gonna hate me for this, but my wife makes s'mores the worst possible way on the planet you can make a s'more, and she said it's because how she grew up. They take the whole graham cracker, everything, and they assemble the sandwich and then roll it in tinfoil. And then put it on the fire.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And then they pull it out,
gosh.
and you got this ooey, gooey, shitty mess on your hand.
That's terrible.
Now,
and here's the reason why. Because just like you said, it's an ooey gooey terrible mess, right? How do you eat that?
Well, the only thing is that I can understand is that it's safe. You don't have kids like flinging marshmallows. But what was fun? Seeing your friends light a marshmallow on fire, blowing it out, flicking it around, having a blast, right? Wrapping it in tinfoil is, I don't know. It's just hilarious because we've talked about this. I mean, when I say s'mores are overrated, it's not that I don't like s'mores. I used to make s'mores in my house over a candle when I really wanted one when I was poor.
Right.
Okay? I just think people don't know how to eat them properly, and you got assholes that do it in bad ways, or they bring chocolate graham crackers, like I said. That's what pisses me off about it.
So, like, I completely agree with you with the whole chocolate graham cracker thing, or the like not the cinnamon ones, but the ones that are just terrible all the way around.
Yeah,
like they're just not graham crackers, right?
Right.
But if you have a person who, instead of them bringing like a milk chocolate, little thing, like a Hershey's bar, and they replace it with like a Reese's cup.
Yep.
Or they replace it with something else.
Get out of here.
Like what are those mints? The Andes
mints. Oh, yeah, I've had
no.
that too. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, all of that's terrible.
The other thing is
none of that belongs on a s'more.
I consult for restaurants, as we know. And over the last 3 years, I will tell you, how many people have s'mores on their menu as a dessert, and it just pisses me off. You know why? Because it's like meatloaf. It's designated for certain areas. Your mom makes meatloaf and spaghetti. Camping is for s'mores. A high-end restaurant is not a place to go get a s'more. I'm sorry, it's not. I don't care if it's just on the kids' menu. You don't do that. A s'more is meant to be put on a stick. You grill the hell out, or you roast the mallow. You put the chocolate on the graham, and then you put it all together and you eat it really quick. That's what it is.
I agree.
And the chocolate should be cold. You need that texture difference.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So here in Reno, I don't live in Reno, but in Reno, they have a drive-in movie theater.
Okay.
Do they have any up there?
Yes, they have 2.
So drive-in movie theaters, overrated or not?
Never been to one.
Really?
No, I had a chance to go to one. I thought about it. It's one of those things I've wanted to do, B-word. It's just, I like it. I've heard bad stories about it, and also whenever I've looked, they're usually not the best movies being played, and I don't know. It's something I've just never done. I hear it's overrated, so yeah.
I'm going to challenge you to do it because I do agree. I do think it's a little overrated.
Okay.
But I think if you can get a group of people to go with you and set up all your cars at the same spot and kind of plan out like the meal or the snacks or whatever, where it's shared in a communal manner, that's probably very cool. But I have an issue with drive-ins for a couple reasons. Number one, the screens typically aren't digital,
right?
Like so they're kind of hard to see. They have to wait for the sun to go down in order to see it. So everything's dependent upon sunset time. The bathrooms, you're pissing into a horse stall for the most part.
Okay.
And, you're looking at everybody's wiener while you're pissing because there's typically no privacy
What's wrong with
in
that?
the bathrooms.
Look at some wieners, B-word. To open up your mind.
Maybe one day. But for now, absolutely not. And then the other part of it is that you get the crazy kids that are just like running through the parking lot that you're in that are making all this noise. And so part of it is, yes, it is overrated. But the other part of it is it is actually an experience that I do think that everybody should experience.
See, our list, yeah.
It can be fun. It can be fun.
Our lists are similar,
all the
though,
time, but it can be fun.
Because we have movies in the park, which is sort of the same thing. And me and the wife were actually talking about this the other day.
Overrated.
We were going to go, but we complained because we took our kids last year, and the movie didn't start. The sun doesn't set up here till like about 9:30 right now. I don't know about where you guys are. But yeah, the movie didn't start till 10 p.m. And we got little kids. We're like, the other problem is you have to get there early to get a good spot. So we get there at 6. You've been there for like a work shift. The other one though, because you have to, when you go to a drive-through, you have to put it through your radio speaker, right?
Well, you do, or like if you have a portable speaker.
See,
you can, as long as it goes through the radio, as long as you have a radio dial on the portable speaker, it's fine. Like I have a oh shit, I don't remember what it's called, but I have a box, like a big speaker box.
Yeah.
So for me, I just bring that if I'm doing that.
See, that was my next one. Bluetooth speakers are overrated, and they piss me off. At the beach.
Really?
Here's why. I don't mind if you're listening at a decent volume and stuff, but you've seen this asshole. Like, because there's a lot of camping on the beaches up here, too, where you go and you build a beach fire and all that. And you got those guys that they just blast it. And I don't want to hear your shitty music. I just don't.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I hate classic rock. That's another argument for another day.
What?
Yeah, I hate it. I don't.
Wow.
I just it's one of those things because everybody plays the same shit too. Like, oh, let's play. I like Journey, but let's play this. And oh yeah, throw that on Creedence Clearwater. I don't fucking shut up. Go listen to it on your own. Like, yeah, you can have it a little low. Like, what's not overrated? Bring an acoustic guitar. It's not overrated to me.
I think if somebody has talent and they want to bring an acoustic guitar, an ukulele, something of that nature, by all means, man, go for it.
I would rather
do
that
your thing.
And walk by and do that instead of walking by and hearing your shitty trap music while you're trying to have your girlfriend twerk on you while cooking a s'more wrong, you damn communist. Get the hell out of my country. You don't belong here.
Right. So obviously there's quite a bit that's overrated about summer, right?
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, we have really become those old curmudgeon, like get off my lawn men. And fuck everybody who's disagreeing with us, by the way. I'm just going to throw it out there.
They're the guys drinking White Claws and listening to Bluetooth speaker bullshit on the beach. That's who they are.
I'll give that to you. I'll give that to you. So something came up recently that I think is notable because we are an entertainment podcast. Okay. We talk quite a bit about movies and whatever. And now that we're talking about summer, one of the big things about summer is summer box office for Hollywood. Right? You typically look at, this is where the action movies tend to get released, at least pre-COVID. This is where the big blockbuster movies tend to be released because more people tend to go out and go to the movies in the summertime. But COVID has really impacted theater numbers as far as attendance and box offices and whatever.
Right.
And companies like Disney have created Disney Plus or HBO with HBO Max. I want to say that that Paramount has also done like a Paramount Plus or something of that nature, where the movies that are in theaters shortly thereafter go on their streaming service. And I read a couple. First off, last week I found out, you and I read together, that Scarlett Johansson is now suing Disney for her lack of payment in her argument. Because a lot of the box office went to Disney Plus. And I think where the mistake was is that Disney Plus actually advertised how much they made through Disney Plus. And it was a catastrophic number, or it was an astronomical number, I should say.
Right.
They made quite a bit of money on that. But now that Scarlett Johansson has filed suit against Disney, I read this week that Emma Stone, who played Cruella in the same movie, or in the movie of the same name,
right,
she's now suing Disney as well, or at least contemplating about suing Disney. And what I find really funny about this is that Disney has come out, obviously Disney's going to defend itself, right?
Yeah.
But Disney has come out somewhat with what I what I see as a character assassination. And I'm not saying that they've, taken these two actresses and told the world that they're bad, but they've basically flaunted, hey, these two actresses are some of the highest paid actresses, and it's not our fault that COVID happened, and the world needs to be entertained. So my question for you is, how is this going to impact movies going forward, do you think? Because I don't think the streaming services are going away. So if you're going to find actors and actresses signing contracts, I mean, is that something that they have to factor in?
Yeah, it's going to be like the music industry. It's going to be like the music
Okay.
industry. When they change the streaming, like Spotify and stuff, how they get paid by that now. Because I don't know if you were aware of this part, how platinum records, it used to be if you sold so many, how it's changed over the years with streaming. So if you look up the data, not to get too serious, but if you look up the data, what a stream equals based on sales, they actually equate it into that to make up for that. So I think the movie industry is going to change. People will get smarter and do this. I mean, the people bashing them because she made $20 million, though. It's like, who cares? If she was meant to make more money due to the way the contract's written and she got cheaped out of it, she should get more money. Yeah, I'm not one of those people that go, oh, she has enough. No, screw that. Just like me with working. If I make $1 million and people say you should be happy for making $1 million, well, if I was due, 1.5 based on the contract and, extenuating circumstances. Now, when it came down to her and, her team, and I don't know all the fine details, if they were looking into this during all this, because, I mean, we knew rumors that it was going to be coming out on that, right?
Well, so the movie, so I don't know about Cruella, but I know that Black Widow was originally supposed to be released last May.
Right.
And it was delayed for, I believe, a year. I don't know if it was a year to the day, but it was delayed for a year because they wanted to capitalize on the box office. And if I'm right, which I haven't researched it, so take it for what it's worth. So her contract was set up a lot like Robert Downey Jr.'s contract for Iron Man, where he got the trails from or a profit sharing from the ticket sales. And we know that, like, there's a few things here that I think factor into play. Number one, theaters, like when Star Wars was trying to make, longer movies, like that was going to impact theaters because they have to sell so many tickets.
Yeah, I remember that
in
whole
order
argument.
to get a profit, right? So when they delayed Black Widow for a year, I mean, a part of me thinks that that's really the time that they should have tried to renegotiate the contract. And maybe they did. Maybe they did try to negotiate. And maybe Disney just wasn't up for it. And that's why they said, okay, we'll delay the movie.
Yeah, but also the fact that, well, not to interrupt you on this part, but you got to look at it, B-Word, like they might have delayed it in her benefit to be like, hey, let's not put it in the box office, get screwed over on their end as well. But also that helps her profit sharing by, if we put it out, and everything gets screwed up, then nobody makes money. And I mean, I don't know. It's going to change.
Well, one of the movies that you and I talked about was A Quiet Place, right? And they would not release that through any streaming service. As a matter of fact, I believe that was the first like blockbuster feature that was released in the theaters. I mean, you had a whole bunch of B-rated movies and stuff, but I think this was like the first blockbuster, if you will, that was released in the theaters. And they told all the audience, go to the theater and watch it because it's not going to stream anywhere. And now it's streaming in different places. But I think it's just interesting. I think it's notable because I do think that both Scarlett Johansson and Emma Stone might have, a point here. I just don't know legally, and I'm not a legal expert. I just don't know legally if they have a leg to stand on. But I do think that this is going to be one of those things that that redefines how contracts are negotiated. And if you even look at it this way too, I think this is also going to be something where Disney or Marvel or whoever, Warner Brothers, whatever, where they're trying to set up worlds like Pirates of the Caribbean or like the Marvel
cinematic universe,
any of those. I think that this might be something where they don't do multi-film contracts anymore. And I think that that's going to be something that's going to be interesting because you might see more recastings.
I don't think that's going to be the case as much because I think they realize the impact of how that changes the movie and everything else as well. I think you'll have smaller contracts negotiated more often. But like, do you think that since Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow died, and this was essentially her last film, like, let's be honest, there might be some other things she does, but essentially this is her last film. Do you think she came out and was more forthright because of that as well? Like, do you think
I
if
do.
she didn't die and she would have continued and knew that she was going to continue on making more movies, and I could be wrong. Like I said, they could do some back scenes and stuff. But you know what I mean? Like, do you think it made her come out more?
To a certain extent, I do. But let's be candid here. Black Widow should have had a movie probably a few years ago. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so they needed to have a movie. The head of Marvel Studios did not want to make and this isn't Kevin Feige, this is the one before him. They didn't want to make a Black Widow film, and they ended up making the Black Widow film, and it's really just, it's too little too late kind of thing.
Yep.
And I do think that, for lack of a metaphor, that she grew some balls and is now fighting Disney on this because, it is unfair. And I do agree it's unfair all the way around. I don't know that Disney can really hold fault for having a pandemic though.
No.
So I think from the corporate end of this, like, Disney has a leg to stand on legally, but it's interesting to me because, like, even Dave Bautista came out in support of Scarlett Johansson, and he plays Drax in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he's already come out and said that that's his last movie with Marvel, and that either they're going to recast him or he's not going to be there anymore.
Right.
So I do think there is something to say about not having a contract with them anymore, but when you're talking about a company like Disney, you're not just playing Marvel movies. When you talk about HBO, you're not just playing WB movies.
Right.
Like they have access. I mean, like Disney has 21st century or 20th Century Fox, 21st Century Fox, whatever it is. Like they have United Artists now. I think that they have an overabundance of companies that make movies that you kind of bite the hand that feeds you, of course. But I think the big talking point is that this is a sexist thing. And I'm not trying to get political here. I just think that this is an unfortunate circumstance for the actress or actresses, if you include Emma Stone.
Yeah, you brought up two good points there, though. So one, I'm glad you brought up David Bautista, because I was going to bring up two other companies where you can bite the hand that feeds you. And one, Dave Bautista was in. I don't know if he actually was in the other one. NFL and pro sports, for example, you usually can.
Yeah.
Two was WWE. Because Dave Bautista was in the WWE, and we've seen it time again. Because I was a big wrestling fan growing up. I'm not so much now, but I watch a lot of the documentaries. I know you do too.
Yeah.
They have a lot of stars that fought with Vince McMahon and this and that.
Oh yeah.
And I think that they still come back sometimes, because at the end, what makes Vince McMahon money, or Disney or whoever, they'll, if they can hash it out. And I mean, it's just like me with my work. You have bosses you don't get along with sometimes. Mm-hmm. That I think at the end too, she's not going to get blackballed from it because she's a high draw.
No, yeah.
But the second part was, I do believe it's sexist, and I didn't want to get down that too deep either, but I think it was, because I don't think they made a movie because she's a female character, even though we all probably would have went to see it. But they have this mindset that we're not going to go watch it because we're all these guys and we only want to see the guys on screen, and it's so stupid.
Right.
I don't always go down that road, but that's how I feel about it. I think, that it was a sexist thing too, and that they feel like they can get away with a lot more because she's a female. And I could be wrong there. But
see, and I would agree with you that it is sexist in a sense that she didn't have a movie for so long. Mm-hmm. I don't think that the contract itself was made out of sexism.
No,
if that makes sense.
No, and I agree with you.
Okay, so I want to be clear on that. I think her not getting a movie was a sexist thing, and which is really funny because Marvel's now trying to be really woke, and they're trying to be inclusive of everything that's under that inclusivity banner. But I think that one of the things that's really hard, though, is that they pigeonholed themselves into a position where they had to offer Scarlett Johansson something. And I think the timing was just shitty.
That's what I was going to say.
It was scheduled during the pandemic.
I write contracts all the time, B-word. Like, I used to write a lot of catering contracts for big companies like Nike and such, right? And I used to have to write in, like, force majeure rules and all that type of stuff. And there are times I'd have to tell them, hey, you still owe me $20,000. And they'd be like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I know you're canceling, and I know this happened, and I'm sorry these people got sick and they couldn't be here. And this isn't during COVID. This is just during other times. And, the way contracts work, it's unfortunate. It sucks, but that's the way it is sometimes, and that's business. And so that's why I also don't hold against Disney as much as other people are. It's like, they can't control if COVID happened, and they're trying, they're also trying to make money on their end too.
Right. Right. I think, and I guess just to kind of sum this up, I think it's just an unfortunate situation all the way around. for two of arguably the best actresses of this generation. And Disney, I think the other part is that, when you start talking about some of these big companies that have more or less become conglomerates, like as a Marvel fan, I'm so happy that Disney owns like everything again, except for like the Spider-Man universe,
and
which I would imagine that they're going to, and the Hulk's distribution rights. But I would imagine that, that there's going to be more of a conversation about, some of this stuff. I just, sometimes it kind of feels like you can't win against the big guys. So this is going to be something that I'm following because I'm just curious. I think it's going to, I don't want to say it's going to set precedent, but I think this is going to be something, especially when it comes to streaming services, that you're going to see actors and actresses really negotiate contracts a little bit better.
Well, they will.
I think if somebody was to sign with a Netflix or a Hulu or Amazon or whatever, I think that's almost ingrained in them that they have to deal with, how many clicks or how many views or how many, whatever to be able to sit in their contract. But having movies now going to streaming services is an entirely new platform, and I think it's just something interesting on the legal side of things. So
yeah.
But with that, man, I want to ask you a little bit. So we've kind of, it's kind of been a summer episode so far. We've talked about, your glamping and different camping things, and overrated summer activities, and of course now the summer box office. So what a better way to finish it out than trying to kind of detail some movies. So I've got a category here that I want to discuss with you, okay?
Okay.
So I want you to tell me, and we can do one right after the other. So maybe I do one, then you do one, or however we want to do it.
Okay.
But what's your best camping or summer movie?
So like summertime camping included, not just based on summer. Okay.
It doesn't have to be just camping, and it doesn't have to be just summer. It can be a summertime whatever, or it can be a camping whatever. And camping can happen in the wintertime, right? So it doesn't have to be
True.
whatever,
we're looking at because Hollywood's also a certain way. They're not going to make a camping movie in the winter. I mean, they might, but
Right.
I'm going to go with the top 3 then.
Okay, well let's for the purpose of this, why don't you give me your third one?
Okay.
And then I'll give you my third one, and we can discuss.
Okay, Camp Nowhere.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
Love
one.
that one as a kid. Christopher Lloyd, I think he's an amazing actor. It was just a fun movie, and that's like a toss-up because there's another kid one that I really like, but it won't make my top 3, and it was it might be one of yours, Heavyweights.
Oh, see, that was my third.
See, and see, that's the thing, but it makes sense. I'm a Christopher Lloyd 1, and you're a Heavyweight 0. So.
Right? We're a 10 couple. We are a 10 couple.
But you know what I mean? It's just that's my favorite kid one.
So my third is Heavyweights. And actually as I've gotten older, something's resonated with me with Heavyweights a little bit more, and I'll get into it here in just a second. But Heavyweights was like the camp version of the Mighty Ducks. Right? Actually, it even shared some of the actors that were in the Mighty Ducks. But I liked it, for me being a more husky guy growing up, like Heavyweights was cool because the only camp that I really went to as a kid was Boy Scout camp.
Okay.
And like that was really fun, and I had a really good time at that. And I always wished like I can actually do go to a camp when I was young or I was an adolescent. I think that would have been a blast. But so Heavyweights is fun. But here's the thing about Heavyweights that I think is like really cool. And I don't know if they did this on purpose or not, but Ben Stiller's character, so like he bought the camp, right? I don't remember what his character's name was, but he's basically the same person as Dodgeball.
Exactly. No, I know, and that's why. And I've never really been a huge Ben Stiller fan, to be honest. Okay. But yeah, I agree with you there. See, and so I'm glad you correlated it to something that reminds you of that, because Camp Nowhere to me is an alternative grunge version of Lord of the Flies.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Lord of the Flies is one of my favorite books. I also love the original film they made. But this might surprise you. I like order. B-word. I like I like structure and order, and like the Constitution's one of the greatest things on this planet. Bald Eagle Freedom Party.
Yes, sir.
It's the fact though that like Camp Nowhere is like the epitome of you let kids run something to see how fast it goes to shit. Yeah. And then Control has to chaos. constitutes control, and control constitutes chaos, right? And so that whole circle is enjoyable for me, and I think that's why it makes my list there.
Okay, so what's your number 2?
Number 2 is Into the Wild.
See, I like the book better than the movie.
I do like the book better than the movie. It's one of those, and we talked about this before. Whenever I pick a movie, it's watchability for me. And that's one of those ones I can throw on all the damn time and enjoy it all the way through. You know what I mean? I don't even have to be paying attention to it, but it's one of those, it's like a good record. I could throw it on in the background and just enjoy myself. And so that's why it makes my list. Because, I mean, it's essentially, more just a journey. I mean, I like the true story, too. I remember the reason I watched that movie and read that book is when as a kid, I remember the 2020 special about that guy when he died.
Right.
And it just resonated with me. And I think it's a good film. It's not the greatest film out there, but to me, it's one of those ones I can pop in all the time. What's yours?
Okay. So my second one, we've talked about this movie before, and there's not going to be a way for you to shit on this movie because it's one of your favorite movies too. The Sandlot.
Oh, see, and now, I really, and speaking of s'mores, I thought of picking that one.
Yeah, The Sandlot's one of my favorite summer movies. I think, so one of my favorite TV series, and I know that we're not choosing TV series here, but one of my favorite TV series is The Wonder Years. Did you ever watch The Wonder Years?
No, you've begged me to watch this show, and I've never watched this show, and I need to.
So the best part about The Wonder Years is like in the same vein of The Sandlot, where you have a narrator kind of talking about or like reflecting on times in his life, and that's where the story goes.
Right.
That's the same thing that The Wonder Years does. In The Wonder Years, the narrator is actually Daniel Stern. And so he narrates Kevin McAllister's life. And in this, in The Sandlot, everybody who's ever watched The Sandlot, knows like certain things about it, right? So like
Wendy Peppercorn, baby.
It's Peppercorn, and
whatever.
we have been corrected on that. I was correct actually, but I went with your definition on there, so I'm not going to let you do that. However, but there's quotes like forever, right? Or we talk about s'mores, like we were talking about s'mores earlier
killing
today.
me, Smalls.
Right, you're killing me, Smalls, like all of that sort of stuff. So I don't know that there's anything wrong with The Sandlot. I think it's timeless, and I think it's just an overall good movie. So that's what I'm going to go with my second one. I know that you're getting prepared for your first, but do you have any honorable mentions?
Well, before we do that, speaking of The Sandlot, just like you're saying, there's things. You know the shoes he pulls out at the end? The PF Flyers? I actually, as a kid, always wanted those, but they weren't making PF Flyers really like that anymore. And I had to, at the time, that's before Converse was like really making.
Right.
I actually special ordered like a custom made black on black monochrome just so I could match Benny the Jet Rodriguez, or what is it? Benny the Jet Rodriguez. Yeah, I got those just because of that. But anyway,
that's awesome.
Honorable mentions: Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, that's a good movie.
I love it's just one of those
good movie.
Yeah, it makes you feel good. It's great. And then what is it? The Great Outdoors.
Okay, so that's my number one.
Okay, thank God, because you know what? I was gonna shit on it. I thought your number one was gonna be Stand By Me, and I was ready for a big fucking argument.
No. I'm really happy that it's not Stand By Me, and I like Stand By Me. Don't get me wrong. Like I'll watch it, but I have to be honest, man. Like. The first time I watched it, it was fine. Like it was a good movie. I related to it a little bit. The older I get, though, the harder it is to follow that movie.
It's not
I don't know why.
Fucking camping movie.
Right.
It makes every list, and it's not. It's just kids wandering.
Right. No, Stand By Me. You're gonna shit on one of my honorable mentions. I know this, but Stand By Me doesn't even make my list of honorable mentions. So before you get into your number one, let me give you my two honorable mentions here. So I'm just gonna say what it is, and this will probably be the one that you shit on. But for me, when I first watched it, I really liked it. Plus, the main actress in there, is super hot, and I was a teenager when it happened. So I Know What You Did Last Summer, Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, she's so hot. I love Jennifer Love Hewitt.
I mean, but I Know What You Did Last Summer is so much better than Scream.
No, it is. No,
let's be honest.
No.
Yes, it is, dude.
How?
Scream was stupid.
Scream is not stupid. Scream is a great film.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Neve Campbell, bro.
I would watch her in a shit bath. She is hot.
Neve Campbell, bro.
She is super hot.
So much hotter.
No, dude, no.
Yep.
No.
She's my Agent Carter before
stupid.
Agent Carter existed. Same chin line. Love it. All right.
All right. So here's my other honorable
Okay.
mention. This one is a chick flick, so I'm just going to preface that, okay? But Dirty Dancing happened at a camp.
That almost,
right?
yeah, I almost had that on my list because I actually love that. And as I've said before on this show, that was the first record I ever owned, besides Tina Turner, was the Dirty Dancing soundtrack. I totally agree with you on this film.
Yeah, Dirty Dancing's great. So
my other,
give me your number one.
My other two honorable mentions: Troop Beverly Hills. Don't know if you ever seen it.
Troop Beverly Hills.
It's about Girl Scouts.
No, I've never seen
My
that.
sister used to watch it, throw it on. It's actually a pretty funny movie. Second is you've never seen this movie, but one of my favorite characters in it. It's called Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Okay.
I highly recommend watching it. So, you ever watch the TV show Reaper?
No.
Okay, so there's a guy in that show named Sacco. He's the character, or the main character in this movie, and it's pretty much just about two dumb rednecks that go to fix up a cabin, and these high schoolers go to camp and drink White Claws and be dumb, and they accidentally kill all of them. Like it's just because they're so dumb rednecks, they don't realize they're killing all these people because stupid things happen.
That sounds stupid.
It's a hilarious. It is, but it's hilarious. I'll tell you. Right. My wife was not excited for movie night, and she laughed the whole time. So my number one is Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay. Okay, I can't shit on you there.
Classic film.
It's a good movie.
Camp, summer. It's one of those, you know what I mean? It's a go-to classic,
right,
in my opinion.
Right.
And I'm not a big horror fan, but I enjoy it, you know what I mean? And it's the epitome of what camping movies almost are.
Okay. Okay.
It's got everything. It's got the sex, it's got the summer, it's got the lake, it's got, fire, it's got everything.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's my pick.
So, just give me one answer, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What is the most overrated summer movie or camping movie?
Most overrated. I'd have to say old school movie. Overrated is what's the one with a Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh, see, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Was Wet Hot American Summer. That's got Paul Rudd in it. It's got some other actors and actresses. I'd have to look at the cast, but there's a lot of big names in there. Such a stupid movie. It's terrible.
The other one is National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah, but the Chevy Chase National Lampoons do have a spot, on my list of
certain ones. It's like
good
Ernest
movies,
films.
but yeah, Vacation's kind of stupid, especially the
it's not
remake.
my
Did you see
favorite
the
one.
remake?
No.
So it was with the guy who lost his tooth on The Hangover, and then Christina Applegate. And basically, I think that I'm going to spoil this for everybody, but I think he was the son in Vacation in the National Lampoon's movies. But yeah, most overrated.
Is
for
that
sure.
We Are the Millers?
Is
that film?
I've watched We Are the Millers. That's not the same as Vacation though.
Okay, that movie sucked too.
Well, except for Jennifer Aniston. Here's my issue with Jennifer Aniston though. Like, we get these sneak peeks. Oh my gosh, Jennifer Aniston's doing a strip tease, or she's whatever. Like, she doesn't show anything. She'll never show anything. So stupid.
Nope, never.
The most you get to see out of her is on a cold episode of Friends.
Yeah, those are great episodes.
Yes, they are.
I'm reminiscing. Now all I'm thinking of is the Tube Top episodes. Those are my favorite episodes.
Those are fantastic. Those are fantastic.
No.
Well, man, it's been a good podcast tonight. This has been fun.
It was not overrated.
Yeah, it's a lot of overrated. Definitely a lot of overrated. I think there's been some good conversation here, though. So, for our audience, thank you very much. If you've made it all the way to the end, congratulations. It means you were probably entertained, at least just a little bit. Make sure to follow us on our socials, for Facebook, for Twitter, and for Patreon. It's at Bleach Bros
Patreon.
Pod. For our Patreon, we have a few different membership levels that can help you get you some Bleach Bros merch, but can also help you get some other things that are on there. And then for our Instagram, it's at Bleach Bros Podcast. And here's the thing, Jake. When we started up the socials, we started with Instagram first, which is why we have at Bleach Bros Podcast. And all the rest of the socials, that name is way too long. So that's why everything else is at Bleach Bros Pod. Go figure. But with that, man, we're going to go ahead and close it out. So what do you got for us?
Do you want to say the slogan this time, or do you want me, like always?
Well, absolutely.
You can say it.
Can I?
Say it, B word.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, Jake, thanks for the dirty talk, and let's get sanitized.
You failed.
I know.